We are here to get to know the candidates for Ashland mayor and to see if there are ways the city government can do more to help solve the budget crisis at the Ashland schools. Leading up to this forum, we were asked, why hadn't we convened a panel of the school board instead, since they are the ones who set district policy and strive to meet the state and federal mandates on how education must be delivered? Why aren't we asking them to solve the budget crisis? Our answer has been that the school board, together with the administrators and teachers, have already been moving mountains and doing everything they can to wisely allocate educational funds that have been falling every year for nearly a decade. As an example, many years ago, the state of Oregon developed its own quality education model and determined that it would cost approximately $10,000 per student to provide education services at that quality level. The school board has to grapple with the fact that we are currently only receiving about 65% of that funding. And even with additional funds through the federal government, title programs, free and reduced lunch programs, property rentals, transportation grant, and the youth activities levy, the board must still grapple with a potential $1 million shortfall this coming year. The school board has no power to raise funds. They simply do their best with what's given to them. This is one reason why we're looking at this year's election to seek out candidates who support schools and can offer creative solutions. Now is time to find our areas of common interest and help solve our ongoing budget issues. There are real and concrete steps that can be taken. For example, it was under the leadership of Mayor Kathy Shaw in the 1990s that Ashland rallied to design and pass the original youth activity levy. And that helped save sports, non-academics such as elementary PE, music, drama, and more. But unfortunately, this funding is even declining because of the fall in property taxes, which equate to the assessment of values and consequently the taxes that are raised. But there are many other areas where the city can contribute creatively. These include the sharing of city services, such as health services, or discounts and fees charged for city utilities. Perhaps, and most importantly in the long run, efforts by the city to attract families to live in Ashland directly benefit the schools. State funding is provided on a per-student basis. The more students we have, the more funds. And this brings us to our forum tonight and our chance to hear from our candidates. First, we'd like to give the candidates 3 minutes each to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Biome.
Hello, is this thing on? Very nice. Please bear with me, it's a bit anxiety up here for me and a bit awkward. I have a story. Once upon a time, this August, I became inspired to run for mayor. The next day, I was at the old City Hall building for paperwork. The day after that, I got signatures, and voila, I'm facing you all here today. In the past, I've always been in the crowd, and other people were up here doing this sort of thing. I'm trying something different this time. I was taught that my voice matters, so I'm deciding to stand up, use my voice, and devote myself toward your service. I see that our world is imperiled by war, and starvation, and genocide, and disease, and nuclear devastation, and lies, and hypocrisy, and neglect, and abuse, and ignorance, etc., and that it is necessary for me to face all that with simple compassion and honesty. The same feeling tells me that we can fix the problems facing our planet and our society through self-sacrifice, right choices, and service. As I journeyed through the public school system, I attended 7 different schools and can speak with authority through experience. In school, I was taught that our government was run by the people and for the people. On my own, I had to figure out who ran the people. I was taught that our nation was founded on the principles of liberty and justice for all. However, I had to learn on my own about our nation's authentic history of conquest, exploitation, and discrimination. My journey ended squarely with the events of 9/11. I swallowed the official story at first. Then I humbled myself. I abandoned my naivete in search of the truth. I practiced stilling myself and listening deeply, and I began to study important issues using logical critique and gut intuition. It is okay to ponder the questions that rarely get discussed in public and private discussions. Who am I? Where do I come from? What am I doing here? Does any of this matter? What is the purpose of life? And what's really going on with this planet? These questions cry out from within and demand to be addressed. We can choose to dismiss them. We can choose to drown them in intoxicants. We can escape into entertainment and fun. Or we can choose to explore them with analytical skill and insight in order to find meaningful answers. Each one of us has such great potential. We are participating in a great conscious awakening. We are manifesting our shared vision of a peaceful and harmonious coexistence. What will it take? The basis for my candidacy is founded on the reclamation of our political decision-making process by the people, for the people, and for all life. This process entails educating our children to be truth seekers. We must show them by example what it means to be healthy, self-directed learners, and show them how to embody political rectitude. Thank you.
How do you follow that? It's very eloquent. Great job. First of all, I'd like to introduce my wife, Becky. She went to Briscoe and Lincoln here. I have two high school seniors here, Alex Simplis in the back and Emma Cobb. They're both seniors. This is their senior project, is to do my campaign. The greatest thing about a senior project is over November 6th, and the rest of their school year they're finished. So thank you for your volunteering, and I hope it's as educational as it was for Charlie Butler, who's now an attorney in Seattle and just ran 3 campaigns for Supreme Court in Washington and won all of them. So, pretty cool. No, I did it just a month ago. No, we created the political person there. So anyway, I'm glad to be here tonight. School board, I served on school board for 8 years, and 2 years before that on the budget committee. I served on city council for 2 years and was mayor for 4 years in 2001 and 2004. There's nothing more important than education. I just am totally supportive. When I came on the school board and I ran unopposed, my first meeting with the school board, I had teachers with pink slips. And they'd riffed, I don't know how many educational people. I vowed for the next 8 years that we would never have another pink slip. And we didn't during those 8 years. So I understand school budgets. I understand school funding. I've been in the seat. It is, you know, for school board members, it's probably the most important elected position you will make. And there's so much that they go through. And they're not recognized at all. When you go to anything and you're the mayor, you always acknowledge and introduce. They never introduce school board members, and they should, because I think it's far more important than the other 2 seats, both on council or in mayor. So I look forward to a long talk tonight. I think we have 2 hours scheduled, and we'll see where it goes. So thank you very much for coming.
I'm standing up because certain things are so slippery that while you're trying to talk, you're trying to keep from losing out on the floor, which would be undignified and probably not an advantage. Do you need to hear? Do you need the mic to hear?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So the things you need to know about my background are just 2. One, I've been mayor for almost 4 years, and the second is when I lived in Eugene, my wife and I, before we moved down here, I was a leader of a group, one of the three leaders that saved the public art gallery from going under due to city budget cuts. And we set up a public-private partnership that got the resources, the money, and the volunteer participation to make that thing go. And here's the interesting thing, and I think this should be encouraging to you.
In the mic.
Yeah, I thought, excuse me, thank you. This should be encouraging to you because that gallery is better now than it ever was when the city was funding it directly itself. The involvement of people in taking possession and ownership of that thing and the opportunities it opened up for participation were invigorating and rewarding to everybody. One of the secrets about participation is it's not just that you're sacrificing to do a job, it's that it engages you and it gives meaning to your life and it builds relationships. So I am with you on this. I think what you're doing may be even more important than you realize at the moment. And the reason for that is that I think our world is changing long-term, fundamentally. And what you're seeing in school funding, which we're also seeing in funding for the hospital and a lot of other things, is a sign of a sea change coming in this country sooner or later. When we first moved here, the national debt was $5.7 trillion. Today, there's a thing you can look up on, this is all internet-based, so maybe completely bogus, but on the internet, there's a thing with the numbers running and running and running. Today, we hit 16 trillion. That's about tripling the national debt. A country cannot sustain national debt beyond a certain level, or it gets into a situation where the debt service smothers the economy. This can't go on forever, and it has big consequences for us. So it's very important that you got energized by this crisis. Now, here's what I'm going to do. First of all, I am with you, I'm behind you, and I'm going to work with you. And I am going to, the mayor has the ability to set up an ad hoc committee to tackle important problems in the community. I think this problem deserves that kind of committee, and with the council's consent, I'm going to set one up soon, within the next month, if they will give their consent, to explore, to generate, explore, and develop implementation plans for collaborative funding of the schools between the city and the school district. But the committee, on the committee, I will draw people from throughout the spectrum of people in this community because we have a lot of talent. We did this with the Water Advisory Committee, and John Williams was on it, and it was very successful. We did it with the Public Safety Bond Committee, and they figured out how to save the firehouse and get it going. We can do things far beyond what we assume we can do in this community. I have 5 ideas that I want to present tonight as the questions come up that are concrete ideas for consideration. They're going to shock some of you because I'm going to imagine doing things that may not always be permitted, that might require some change in rules or some collaboration between different groups. But that's the pathway of making the changes that we need to make to save these schools, which are vitally important for